Rob has talked a few times about this free bike shop idea, and we decided to be total suck-ups and just go for it.
Are you trying to make that work?
Yeah.
I can't see half of the page because it screwed up my resolution on my screen. It's probably coming up. There we go. Can we use your thing?
I'm about to. I'll just accelerate for you. There you go.
There we go.
I'm going to show you what we didn't do. We screened our ideas the way you're supposed to screen ideas, but we needed to focus on stuff we can test really fast.
We can use our photo tweak idea and we can say which one is accurate.
We could. So one was just the idea that catalog photography could be a lot faster and cheaper, and that we could take most of the money that is, or most of the cost that's taken out. So this picture was taken 5 minutes apart, but look a little different. I don't know how this works.
Just hit one of the buttons.
Okay, it's not one. So, and then this was Layton's idea.
Yeah, this is the laser light show deep fried turkey car wash. I've been dreaming about this for quite a while.
You have a passion for this one?
Yeah, I really wanted to do this, and actually, Chris was really interested in it. And if anybody wants to talk shop on this after class or another day, I'm definitely available. But
It's really just making the car wash as cool as you can.
Yeah.
And everything. Instead, we did this. So the whole idea, we want to make bike free. When we focus on that little triangle area in between crossbars, that could become advertising space. Go to the next page. Use this as our analog. El Gordo, like the car wrap model. The idea being companies could get paid, or people could get paid to have advertisements on their cars. You can't really see the analog in the bottom right corner. We didn't want to be the sign spinner thing, where having the logo on your bike is like a thing you're doing, where people are going to be asking you about it and talking to you. So you end up with this. It's just, you can move around, whether it's parked somewhere or whether you're driving, people know what it is, just through the print on there.
so
LEDs are going to play a role here, right?
Yeah. LEDs.
That technology was not available at the time. That's where we're going now.
When I ride my bike, my leg usually covers half that red space.
Yeah, it's mostly for when you're parked.
it's mostly for when you're parked because we found out that bikes are parked like 99.99% of the time that they're in existence.
So if you park in a high traffic area, do you get paid more?
Right. See, these are some of the. So we can go into this conversation right now, or we could just rush through our slides really fast and then we have a conversation about it after. I think now is as good a time as any. So
Actually, please
You want
don't rush through your slides.
Okay.
Run us through the reasoning, and then
So-
let's talk about this.
So this totally was like some of our first thoughts. Like we're thinking, okay, a marketplace doesn't exist right now for this. How do we create a marketplace for it? I mean, you know, assuming all the testing works out and that this is like $1 billion idea like we think. And so we decided, well, maybe since most people are carrying around like cell phones nowadays and a lot of them have GPS tracking trips in them and everything else, that if you want to make yourself a potential candidate to get paid to have this part of your bicycle have advertisement on it, then we're going to need you to use a mobile app for X amount of days or weeks to determine what your common patterns of travel are and where you are staying for periods of time. Presumably a bicycle would be on a rack, and then perhaps you would be able to set up an auction-based marketplace for those advertisements.
Interesting. So there's Strava, right? So you're biking around.
Sure, yeah.
The thing knows something about it, and based on your idea, it's like if I put my bike on this corner bike rack, I get paid 15 cents an hour, and if I put my bike on that corner bike rack, I get paid 12 cents an hour.
Exactly. So we decided to do some testing. So
no one's thought of that before.
we knew that if the bike got smashed or totaled or just stolen, that obviously it didn't work. Right?
Risk to the product and by extension the brand that you're connecting yourself with by attaching yourself to this.
Yeah.
bike.
So I present you with the absolute shittiest possible example test we could have done. I basically took a bike and got some of that window shrinky stuff. We wanted to use like a white, heavier mill material that could be screen printed and stuff. We even found where you can get it. It's like at boat supply stores and stuff, but the minimum order is like hundreds of dollars, right? Because they want you to buy a whole roll, not just some little scrappy piece. And so we made this up, and it totally pretty much is just about as crappy as you can get. But it was for a thing called poopbags.com, who Chris had ran into the owner, and it was a pretty compelling idea. So we slapped it on there, and I went down to a couple dog parks and did just some really rudimentary, really crude, unscientific testing of just parking this bike with the perfect advertisement at the perfect place where it could be, and just took some notes of kind of what was happening. And I think we found that in the best of locations, with really the worst possible advertisement, we maybe were starting to be onto something here. I think our problem comes in that we still didn't have a web app or a way to create this marketplace, and we started talking about the markets that this could be offered in.
So the upgraded version of this testing is being able to, if you're correct, is to go to the dog park, leave the dog bags, bike, and you're watching for traffic spikes on the website.
Yeah, that right. And with one bicycle, there was no way to create that response,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not suggesting
And
you could or couldn't.
so, right.
Got it.
So we talked about buying a bunch of crappy bikes for cheap, but it turns out even crappy bikes, for whatever reason, right now are going for like, $45, $50. And we thought that was kind of pricey, just to get one more, example. And then we come back again to our, finding that market. So
The product isn't people on bikes. The idea is that like the 15 versus 12 cents an hour idea of parking one place or another, was we're going to try to just like average the exposure that this individual gives over a month and sell it back. So it would be like you pay the guy like $20 a month because he parks in these places. You don't. There may be some opportunity to say park here instead of there, but that would be like you'd have to gather a lot of knowledge about what's more effective. So it would be like way past where we ever got to. We found out from bikeinfo.com, obviously, that 5% of Americans ride a bike to commute to work or school. Our ads really wouldn't cost that much, shipping wouldn't be that much. The main problem is product acquisition and validation would be ridiculously time-consuming, more expensive. It would either be this app or it would be one of us calling these people and saying, hey, can you take a picture on Instagram and timestamp it and all this stuff to show that you're right here. And we started hitting more problems. Dawson's Creek obviously was feeling our pain. As we started to look at how many companies would want to advertise on this commuter bike, first indication it wasn't really going to work was dog food bags guy didn't email me back. So obviously there was no influence of the impressions that Layton had from going to the dog parks in there. So maybe this is not that valuable. Next problem is our analog. We went back and visited it. It's offline and it says it'll be back shortly. And I think shortly means until they'll get a time machine because advertisers in the US have not paid consumers for half the car since the early 2000s. So I was stuck in a time machine, obviously, right about here. That's just a reference to how long ago that was. The guy in the middle is your girlfriend's favorite singer.
But we did get some more valuable insight from the process of creating this test bike and from, basically just from creating the test bike. So it was pretty easy to wrap the bike and provide, it's pretty durable and it doesn't get in your way when you ride on the bike. And so we started thinking, is there other things that we can wrap bikes with that might have value, like sports teams, professional franchises, or college, or even high school? Since it is such a low price point, could this be somehow marketed to those sorts of people? Could you do just goofy zebra prints, or if people are really enamored with some particular brand, would they just self-select to put some branding on their own bicycle?
Or their own business. Yeah, that's kind of
or their own business.
That's essentially how the new car wrap model works. You're going to wrap your car if you want a really intricate design, you love the Raiders, or you have a small business that you really don't have any other avenue to promote it with except your car.
How about coupons?
putting coupons on the bike.
People come up and kind of.
If you
no, I
steal
get it.
this
No,
bike and
you
bring it
scan it.
somewhere.
Yeah, or you scan it, or you take a photo of it, show this photo to someone. I mean, these are all good ideas, and so I think what we want to leave this whole project with, and not to leave it on a downer or anything, but like there are a bunch of like mediocre things that you could do with wrapping a bike, and just none of them fit the way we want to spend our time.
Mediocre for our frame of reference.
Yes.
Neither of us, we both have bikes, but I haven't ridden mine since I got my driver's license. There is a group of people in the world that cares about bikes. Probably not the same way Rob cares about bikes. He wants to ride them fast.
And his isn't parked in the right spot, just like mine. They're parked in my garage or they're on the trail. It's no good.
There may be a group of people to whom this is a great idea. We also ran into the idea that
Then you have to be their customer. Then they have to be your customers. And you have to deal with them, and then you probably won't like that.
Yeah, so if this totally took off, we would have been so miserable. We killed the company 3 weeks after it started, and we're pretty happy about it. If you love bikes and you want to make this work, we can give you suggestions.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but we just decided it wasn't right for us.
I guess some other points of note that I'm sure people are thinking about is like, well, billboards can be used all year round and television is on all the time. Most people, especially in a climate like this, don't ride their bikes all year round. And so, we found that like really the best possible geographical location you could do this, they're already kind of doing it. It's in Sydney, Australia. And Chris found this, and maybe he can talk a
This
little
kind
more
of
about it.
kicked me towards this idea as I thought about it. I'm like, oh, you guys in Australia are doing it. We can do it here. Australia's a lot different. This is
I've heard that Australia's a little different.
One of them,
It's down under first.
their metropolitan centers are among the most expensive to live in the world. So you get fancy guys like this that ride bikes instead of dudes in sweatpants and a t-shirt that hasn't been washed in 6 days. I saw you the other day, Robert. We didn't get a picture, but so there may be other metropolitan areas in the U.S. That this is a possibility.
I don't know.
I think
We
it's
couldn't
gonna be
really, it's the densities. I mean, it's difficult.
having a bike place on a street corner in Australia where just waking up in the morning costs $200 is more valuable than having it here in Albuquerque or something. So you need to go to a really expensive place. New York, you would get destroyed in 30 seconds. Maybe San Francisco, I don't know enough about it, but that's the next thing to dive into. Are there other places it can work? We didn't want to do the selling it as a consumer product because the whole idea is we wanted to make something free, and that's making it more expensive or just creating another thing people don't really need. So we got kind of stuck. We actually, go ahead. If you had pivoted somewhere else, go ahead.
I'll make it
Comment.
quick 'cause I know it's late. But I can see if you were to do it, do beach areas where people rent bikes and have a bike there. I can see
So that,
possibility there.
so we could sell the wrapping service directly to the bike rental companies.
Yeah, spoke do something.
Or
with
you be the
spoke
bike
wrap
rental,
dot
but
com
you
and
give the
did,
bike.
that would work.
And in doing so, subsidize their bikes, which they use to give their customers.
So two
Yeah, you-
foundry companies have explored that idea already.
I know you guys are doing this.
Unfortunately, the margins are too tight. There was also Diaper Ad.
That's great.
Yeah, Diaper Ad was epic.
Yeah, dude,
Oh, God.
They were close.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
These guys are actually going for it. The guy who started it won Entrepreneur or whatever by whatever magazine last year. That's kind of what you suggested. It's trying to give something away to a business that then uses that the way they would have usually with a customer. In this case, it happens to be toilet paper. It could be any number of things. But we just went there were a lot of directions we could have gone and we didn't go that way.
Something to consider is the diminishing rent, meaning that I'm renting this for $10. However, if I take the bike to certain places or certain distances, actually the rent goes down, which is an incentive for them to ride and show off, trying to get more eyeballs on the bike. And people who are not interested are still paying the $10.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's really good ways, without having to pay the acquisition cost of paying the rider and carrying where he rides. I mean, we could have bought cheap bikes and just put them on bike
Right.
racks and left them there for hours or days or weeks until they were stolen or completely vandalized.
And just work that into your customer acquisition, your ad cost.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was there is some value to paying the people to use it, and I don't know, I just don't really exactly follow what you mean about the diminishing rent, but
I actually don't think that's necessarily true. You need, I think, seven like media impressions before someone even realizes what you are. So having something in place for a month versus like 1 day. If something was there for a day, I'd notice it and like, what the fuck is that? And then leave. If it's there every day for a month, I'd eventually have some impression of that being there. We, in the grandest scale, before we realized how cumbersome and annoying this would be, imagined a system where the product could choose their company that they're going to put on their bike, assuming it's something they care about. So if it's yoga studio or whatever, it's a local yoga studio and someone actually goes to that yoga studio, they would choose that if they like it. And then it kind of led towards our analog, I guess, of the having something on your bike created something that you're going to talk to people about, but that would have created stronger brand impressions. But as we thought about doing that on a really big scale, it would have just been gross. Like trying to match 100 people with 100 companies that they like so much, and dealing with 99 people who didn't get the company they wanted.
this kind of relied upon people not caring what company was on their bike and really allowing advertisers to choose based on, you know, if you're downtown bakery and somebody's going to a bakery all the time 5 blocks away, you know, that's a good person advertising. It was just way complicated.
So you really think
It could be like an auction, like the companies would create, you know, like normally viewers on Google, they would territory, like,
like we would like to be able to, or we would have like to be able to say this guy is essentially worth this much to you because he's working for this many people, good for you, or whatever. And people could either pick or just see based on that who's the most valuable. Yeah, it would have been a cool idea. Are you a computer programmer or mobile app developer? Mobile bikes. So trying to get something.
Yeah, those are the skill sets you need to make something like that far. You know.
That's it. This thing says 15 minutes and 11 seconds. I don't know if that's accurate, but we're all set. Have a good night.
Well, I'm grateful that you guys slugged it out for the last session. Thank you for that. I'm not going to do a tedious wrap-up other than to say thanks.
talk about the final paper with that agreement.
The final paper, I think our agreement was at the end of finals week, and my preference is that you just simply email it to me because Canvas, it's easier for me if you just do so. You can attach it to Canvas if you want, but my preference is that you send me an email.
And it was the
What
good,
was
the
the-
bad, the ugly.
What was the length on it?
The length that we agreed was no more, I believe it was no more than 3 paragraphs, is that correct?
It's 3 paragraphs.
So our agreement was it was no more than 3 paragraphs. Is that bad? I mean, you're
No.
looking like,
Minimum of 3.
well, I mean, it's terrible. It makes it harder. It means that you have that
You have to actually think.
Condense it down.
Yeah.
So thank you for those. Yeah, I'm no long-winded thanks other than I got smarter from the class. The next version of my class will be better as a result of having you guys so engaged, which means a lot to me personally. And for those of you who want to stay in contact with me post class, feel free to do so. For those of you who are graduating, sincere congratulations. And for those of you who aren't graduating, I hope I see you again. So have a great night.